Today we take you back in time. We tour 3 World War II era bombers and talk to a veteran who piloted one on this special edition of Barnstable Today. It's Thursday, September 26th, 2013. I'm Sarah Mannel. A trio of antique planes are now on display at Barnstable Municipal Airport. It's part of the Wings of Freedom tour hosted by the Collings Foundation. Yesterday, the World War II era planes flew into Barnstable Municipal Airport from Plymouth. Channel 18's Sarah Colvin was on board for the flight, but before boarding, she had the chance to talk with Frank Tedesco, a veteran that piloted a B-24 bomber during World War II.
We're here with Lieutenant Frank Tedesco, and you are actually a veteran pilot of these planes. You fly this plane, or a plane. Have you flown this very plane that we're standing in front of?
Yes, in the beginning. I helped restore this particular plane. That's why I've been connected with it. But when I was in the service, I was with the 15th Air Force out of Italy. And I flew 35 combat missions in the B-24. What we were doing was hitting the most important targets in that area. From southern Italy, we could hit most important targets in the whole area of southern part of Europe, from France to the Balkans.
Wow.
And speaking of the Balkans, one of our most critical targets was the Ploesti oil fields in Romania. The Germans were getting probably 40% of their fuel for their war machine from the refineries in the Ploesti area. So that became a very important target. My first mission was to Ploesti, and I realized how important it was by the amount of anti-aircraft fire they put up, which is obvious. But it took 9 missions to put that whole area of Ploesti out of business. And that gives you an idea of how important and how large it was.
Absolutely. So what can you tell me about this plane, about the Witchcraft? What kind of an aircraft is this?
This is a newer designed aircraft than the B-17. It has a lot of features that, as a pilot, I liked. It has a nose wheel, for instance, instead of a tail dragger. It has a very efficient wing. That's what made this airplane. It's called the Davis airfoil. Davis apparently is the guy that had a lot of time making the determination on the aerodynamics. But what happens is, since it is a very efficient wing, we get high speeds out of the airplane, higher speed, but it's a more difficult airplane to control. And I didn't know that when I was flying it. I learned that when I came home and started reading magazines about this airplane. They all said the same thing. Very difficult airplane to fly. Well,
did you find that to be the case? Did you think it was hard to fly?
In the service, there's an expression, being fat, dumb, and happy. And that's what I was. No one told me it was difficult to fly. I knew when I was transitioning into it that the control, pressures under control, it took a lot of strength to fly it. But once you learn how to trim the airplane, there are little devices on the wings and elevators and so forth, little flaps that you can put up and down that will help take the pressure off the control column. Otherwise, the airplane, it's a great airplane, and anybody that flew an airplane that kept getting them back, I'm sure they'll tell you it's the greatest airplane.
It really is, and it's just amazing that it's here and that they're still functioning. So what is it like for you to be able to still see this airplane up and running and flying and being able to ride aboard it? What's it like for you?
Well, it brings back a lot of memories.
Absolutely.
And I'm very, very happy to think that I had something to do with restoring one of them. I never thought I would see another B-24 after I left Europe. When I got home, one of the things I did was to ferry B-24s from Harlingen, Texas up to Altus, Oklahoma, which is a huge expanse of B-24s as far as you could see in any direction, just waiting to be scrapped. And they were scrapped.
Wow.
They built 18,500 of these because they were losing so many. The turnover rate was great. So no one had the foresight to think that maybe you ought to save a few of these. The Reconstruction Finance Company bought them all. When we delivered them up there, we'd get a receipt for a B-24. That's something to think about when you get older.
Definitely.
I got a receipt for a B-24. That's pretty good. But eventually, that's what would happen to them. They'd take the engines out, of course.
Right.
And up to this day, they are being rebuilt down in Texas and areas, so that if you lose an engine here, you take this one out and you ship it down to these outfits, and they will send you a completely restored engine to put back in. I'll be honest with you, when I first came back, I found that I didn't talk too much about what I did and what was going on. I don't know what the result or what the reason for that is, but I think now that I think about it, it's probably because I really didn't think a person would understand really what I'm talking about.
Right.
How can I understand what a mission is like, really like? What do you feel and what experience it, unless you've experienced it yourself. So
Right, it really
I
is
have
that
a
way.
lot of the veterans who have done what I have done come in here, and they'll tell me the same thing. I never talked to my wife about this. The same reason. He knows his wife is not going to be able to understand really what he's talking about.
Right.
So he figures, what's the use?
But I think that, knowing the history and at least being able to tell your story could be important. And I think even though people won't fully understand, at least they'll be able to kind of get a sense of what it was like.
But I found doing what I'm doing for 13, 14 years with this, there are more people who are interested now than ever before. And that makes it worthwhile to me to come here every day and spend all my days talking to people, because I can see the interest in it. They don't know all the little details that entail flying this thing, all the things that could happen to it.
Right.
The conditions under which we flew, the cold temperatures, 40 to 50 degrees
Right.
below zero.
And there's no heat on these planes.
It's just
No flight attendants, no heat.
no heat in there, and we're on oxygen all the time, and it's just most uncomfortable.
Exactly. But I think it's great to be able to have this living piece of history here, to really be able to see and to come up close and personal, and to be able to talk to people like you, Frank. Really very important. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're very
You can
welcome.
visit the Wings of Freedom tour tomorrow at the Barnstable Municipal Airport from 10 a.m. to noon. The bombers will be located on the East Ramp at the airport. You can access the East Ramp from Mary Dunn Way off Route 28 in Hyannis. We will now leave you with video captured by Channel 18 cameras during the flight. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.